Hello. Hi, everyone.
I love it. What's up, everyone? You happy tonight? I feel like you like that. I'm Carrie Nemiroff from Collider. Very happy to be here tonight with this wonderful team. Cole Sprouse, Kathrynnewton, diablocody, Zelda Williams. Congratulations on LISA FRANKENSTEIN. Many questions. Diablo, I'm coming your way first to talk about the writing of this screenplay. Can you tell me the core idea that started it all? But then I also want to know if you had a break story moment, something you came up with along the way that signaled to you, I now have a full idea to pursue. I love that you...
And I will get to that, but initially...
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay.
We can hear
So
you.
Initially... I know.
Sorry.
I mean, I think you can hear me no matter what.
I don't need a mic.
Okay. Basically, I had always just kind of toyed with the idea of writing a love story between a living girl and a dead guy. Why that idea was continued to haunt me, I don't know. But I was glad to finally have the opportunity to do it. When the pandemic hit, obviously, it was a very surreal and depressing time where death was weighing heavily on many of our minds, and I just realized that that was the time, and I kind of used my nights to escape into this script. And to answer your question about was there a moment where I knew what I was doing, I mean, I don't think I'll ever truly figure that out, but for this movie, it was the tanning bed. It was realizing that I was going to use a tanning bed to reanimate this guy piece by piece. And I'm an 80s baby, and that visual, I think, was kind of the jumping off point for all of it. So I feel like it makes all the sense in the world. It's like the idea is fully baked and ready to go. Yeah. All right, I always love talking about when creators find each other, and Cole and Zelda, I was reading somewhere that the two of you were friends before you worked on this, so it was making me wonder, when did you meet, and what was the first thing you saw in the other that made you think, like, this isn't just a good friend for me, but also a good creative partner too?
Okay, I get a good laugh out of this one, and sometimes we don't tell it, and sometimes we do. Before we became actual friends, I was 18. I worked at a bar on Hollywood. It was also a restaurant, that's why I could be 18. And I was smoking a cigarette outside, and him and his twin are about 3 years younger than me?
Must have been.
With like little, cute little blonde bowl cuts, and they looked even younger than they were at the time. And he came up to me and asked me for a cigarette. And I very firmly said, "Where are your parents?" It wasn't until years later we became actual friends, because that is not how you become friends with a 15-year-old, ostensibly. But there you have it. I also didn't know who they were because I didn't watch Disney Channel as an 18-year-old and worked at a bar. So it took one of the bouncers being like, "Do you know who those kids are?" No. But yeah, now we're friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the second half of my question doesn't really apply to that story. I'll take it. Wait, Zelda, I have one more question for you about meeting someone. How well do you remember meeting Diablo when you auditioned for Juno? Because I can't believe I missed that little bit of information.
I didn't meet her. To be fair, I never made it that far. It was just one of the early auditions I did when I was like 17 years old. And then I completely forgot and then didn't mention it to her until we were on the press tour and felt like a complete idiot.
It's full circle. To be fair, I wasn't meeting, like at that stage of my career, I wasn't getting to meet any actors either. I was just sitting in Minnesota wondering if I would ever have a job. And here we are. All right, this is the make Zelda blush portion of the conversation. Kathryn, I'll have you answer this first. Diablo, Cole, do jump in after,
though.
No,
we can make Zelda blush. We can just talk about her right now.
Please, that's what I'm going to ask you to do, because this is her first feature, and that is
We did it, guys!
It's a huge accomplishment that should very much be applauded. I have a feeling there's going to be many more in your future.
We're trying to get in the next one. Cole and I, we're getting really kind of competitive about it. Yeah.
I'm trying to convince her to let me speak for the next one.
Never gonna happen.
Kathryn, what is something about Zelda as an actor's director that you really appreciated and you're looking forward to even more actors getting to experience when they work with her in the future?
That's a really great question. And on the way over here today, we were with Cole and I was thinking about it. How beautiful, it's so silly, it sounds so like corny, but I really feel like we're friends and we are friends, but that is really special and it doesn't happen a lot. And from the very get-go, she was just available. And she created a space for me to talk to her. I don't know if it's that she's young, you know what I mean? But really, like, why is it that I felt like, hey, can I ask you this? And I don't know, maybe it was the role, it just required me to actually start asking questions. Maybe I haven't had a role that required that kind of communication with my director. But, you know, she was just always down to help me every step of the way. She was there every fitting. She fought for me to get a wig, which I really wanted. She always just said yes. She always knew what she wanted. I never knew exactly what it was, but she let me experiment, and together I feel like it was a really great team. And then along with this guy over here, you know, he was always down. Anything I wanted to do, he was like, yeah, okay, sure, Katherine, whatever.
I'll hype Zelda up for a second. I knew I was in really good hands.
Yes, hype her up.
As two professionals.
We're professionals.
We're so professional. I was really concerned at first how the physicality of the character was going to come off on screen, and if I was going to feel defended enough having these sort of broader theatrical movements. And you had looked at me and you had said, don't worry, we're going to cover most of your shots as wide shots, which will allow you to play and will allow you to move and actually take in some of that movement training that you've been doing. And I said, all right, I'm covered. I'm like, I'm good. That is a very considerate thing to have a director tell you when you don't have any lines and you are having to show all emotion physically. And I knew from that moment, I was like, all right, we're so on, dude.
I feel like that just it shows that she just really respected her actors, every single one. I think every single one in the movie, and I think that's why our supporting cast is so amazing in this film. We were all treated that way of, you got something to bring here, you gotta trust it, you're here for a reason, and that doesn't happen a lot. Especially to be young. I'm still young. It was my birthday yesterday. Happy birthday. But there's not a lot of roles that allow you or ask you to do something like this. So she had no choice but to be like, yes, and I'm gonna help you get there.
Trickle-down effect is real. Diablo, what about for you? Something about working with Zelda as a collaborator that you're excited for more filmmakers to experience down the line?
I mean, I don't want anyone else to work with her. I want to have her to myself.
Me too!
That I don't like that line of questioning makes me feel very jealous. She, just from our very first meeting, first of all, I was so impressed by how, like, she was already talking to me about, like, the specific ideas she had for, like, prosthetics and, like, blocking scenes, like, just the kind of stuff that you usually talked about in pre-production. She was talking to me in, like, our first meeting when we had no idea when we'd even get an opportunity to put this movie together.
I joyfully talked to you about the dick scene very quickly.
Oh my God. She was describing, like, the trajectory of the flying dick to me, like, at breakfast.
And I wanted it to the 2001: A Space Odyssey theme, but that turned out to be too expensive.
And also, like, as a writer, I'm guilty of putting a lot of stuff on the page, like this song, you know, they're looking at each other like this. It's like a bit much, to be perfectly honest. Like, and I understand when a director says, like, okay, well, I'm directing this movie, so let's let's not do that. And with Zelda, there were so many little things that I had put in there that she was like, oh no, I love your instinct here. Like, let's use that song. Let's do that. And I was like, oh my God, that's nice.
But you were very
Appreciate it a lot.
hands off too. You really handed it off, which is weird. Like, how could you do that?
Here's what it is. That's experience and age. Like, I've just become very zen about things, and I understand that in this business, very frequently as a writer, you are handing over the baby. So.
Right. But that's what's so weird is Zelda, it felt like she already knew that. It's like the only movie I've done where she invited, didn't need to, but I did get to watch sometimes the takes, or, you know, you watch playback, and that's strange. It's not like a thing people like actors to do, but it just always felt like we were all hanging out. And now you're all in our living room. It's so weird.
I love those vibes. Very important. Very well, we're celebrating. All right, now it's make Kathryn blush time. Cole, I'm throwing this question to you right now because I'm pulling from something you told me, Kathryn, during one of our recent conversations.
What did I say? Oh no.
That something Cole said gave you the confidence that you could tackle this role. I wrote it down.
God.
You were at a party and you told her, I know you can do it, you have to do this, no one else can. What was it about Kathryn that made you certain that she had to do this role?
What was it, Cole?
She paid me. No, it's your comedic timing. You're real fat with a baby face. I think comedy's really, really hard, and you carry this whole movie. And I had signed on a bit earlier than Kathryn, and I remember thinking, whew, we really, really need someone who can carry this whole thing. And she's got to be funny, and she's got to have natural timing, but she's also got to be a real powerhouse. And I'd known Kathryn for a while. She's been acting forever. And there is a kind of professionalism that comes along with that for just years and years and years of work in the industry that allows you to lead a project with this many cooks in the kitchen. And I'm pretty sure I begged you. I begged you.
I just like to be validated, you know. Every time I saw him, I was like trying to get him to say like, no, he got me. Because it was daunting though to work with someone who's not gonna talk. You were like, how's this gonna work? It's not about him, it was more, do I have what it takes to bring something to the character? I was never worried about Cole, it was me.
I was worried about Cole, damn.
All right, speaking of that, Kathryn, one thing that I've read that you've said is that at the start you had no idea how to approach this character. Where did you find that starting point, and what did it wind up being?
That's a good one. Yeah, I don't know if I figured it out watching the movie. You're like, really? That was what you decided? But, yeah, 100%. But I feel like you never really know until you get on set. And the first day on set, it was a scene, I believe, with like Henry and Liza. It was like my first scene was the one at the locker. You saw how weird I was, right? I was just inspired, and I think I wanted to give everyone around me something to make fun of or to react to. That's really where it came from. When I'm next to Cole, I'm like, I want to do something for him. So it just comes together on the day. You watch movies, you prep, you read the script. I made playlists. I'd love to say that I journaled as my character, but really I just watched my dogs. You know, 80% of communication's nonverbal, and they talk a lot.
I will say, to continue the hype train, even though we've moved past that question for you, I think one of the most admirable parts that you bring to a set is and one of the reasons why you carry the comedic timing so well is your willingness to look unflattering or make a fool of yourself.
Whoa!
Well, no, hold on. I do feel like your ability to not bring a kind of vanity into the question and concern yourself with like elegance and gracefulness is the mark of someone that can really carry comedy so beautifully. And you know, you've said a couple times in these interviews, you're always like, oh, I made such weird faces and stuff like that. Yeah, you did. And that's why it turned out so powerful the way you did it, is you were willing to do those silly things. And like you're saying with Henry and Liza, like, you wanted them to have something to pull off of, and that's really rare. It is.
Well, thank you. I was really upset because by the end of the movie, you see how handsome he is. It was a problem for me. Yeah, it wasn't cool. It was not in my contract at the start of the film.
Zelda, I'm not leaving you out of this. I want you to have an opportunity to give someone on this production some flowers now. And in particular, I want to talk about Diablo and Mason as producers here, because I think it's really important in this industry that there are producers that could find an up-and-coming director and trust them and help them execute their vision. So what is something about the way the two of them operate as producers that helped you exceed your own expectations for your work on the film?
Having common ground is a really wonderful thing, whatever form of that shorthand is. For Diablo and I, it was movies and our shorthand and the things that we loved and the things that we could talk about tonally. With Mason and I, it was food. He loves food as much as I do, and we were in New Orleans, so it's an embarrassment of riches there. We would often just be like, if we have to talk about the day, whenever it's stressful, you're just like, and food. And that makes
Mason
things
actually
easy.
got gout during the filming of the, yes, and it's the second time it's happened to him in New Orleans.
He's got gout twice on a set.
He's made 2 movies in New Orleans, and both times he's gotten gout. He probably would not be psyched for me to be telling that.
I did not know that.
He brought like these
You have
hot
to eat
dogs
a lot
every
of
day.
food for that to happen.
Every day though, he got me these kolache things. Have you guys heard of these? They're like hot dogs in a bun.
They're delicious.
Hot dogs are already in a bun, Katherine.
No. Touche.
For clarity's sake, by the way, guys, our first gag reel edit was 3 hours long. So this happens a lot. It's not 3 hours anymore. I would never make someone watch a Scorsese edit gag reel. But it's now 2 minutes. However, that's how much we laughed on this movie.
What
Oh, man.
single scene is featured in that gag reel the most? What was the most difficult scene to get through?
Oh, I know it very well. They were sitting, it was in the bed with the vibrator.
Oh.
And, but it's actually before the Hitachi came out, and she looks at him and she goes, I know you come from a very repressed culture, and they just couldn't get through it.
I don't know what it is
Well,
about that
you
line.
rolled over like a little squirrel. You were like, hey, I know you come from a very repressed culture.
They couldn't do it. We had to cut like 4 or 5 times.
And it was a closed set. And so it was just Zelda, me, and Cole in the room. What?
Oh, that ironically, that line's not even in the movie anymore, probably because they couldn't get through it.
Probably because it was so bad. They had to cut
Because it was so
Not
sexy.
you, me. No,
Yeah,
I
they
think-
did have a closed set as if it was going to be a really sexy scene. It was like on the Hitachi one, like the set has to do this legally, you know. It
We're
should
in
be
bed
said, it's
together.
a contingency.
I
They
will
have
say
to do
the
it.
most fun I had on set, they weren't even there because I'm the one who got to throw the penis. And what's even funnier is there was a miscommunication, as happens on set, and I think the AD thought at some point the prosthetic would be attached to a human being, which it was never going to be. That's like an X-rated movie. So there was an intimacy coordinator there. And so I looked over at monitors and she's sitting there and I'm like, hey. She goes, hey, what are you doing here? She goes, I have no idea. And I went, well, you can always check on the crew and make sure they're not in any way uncomfortable. And she looks over at monitors, and most crews tend to be a lot of men in their 40s. And there was just an enormous amount of men lined up at the monitors like it was a football game going, oh. Because we were throwing it into a trash can. There is, you don't see it in the movie anymore because it's PG-13, but there was like a very well-painted prosthetic. And so we just spent an hour throwing a penis into a trash can.
See, do you remember early on in the process, this is very early on in the process, you know, the idea was that they were going to stitch the penis back onto my body, and they asked, what size do I want it?
I'm a good friend.
Do you know what a horrible position that places you in? I'm not going to say the size that I said, by the way.
Learning all the fun facts tonight. I don't know why this is my follow-up question to that, but for the two of you, does Zelda have a monitor dance? Like something she does behind the monitor that signals to you she's really taking a take?
I don't usually sit by monitors, I'll be honest. I'll usually stand by my focus puller as long as he's not annoyed by it, because I prefer being closer to set, so that I can actually have them, especially when you're dealing with a joke, I like them to be able to run a series, so that if they're in the vibe of a moment and they're just chasing the joke, that way I can be right there with them and be like, ramp this up or down.
The best thing she did was literally you could hear her laughing. That was the best.
That's not the best, because then those takes don't work.
No, but it was awesome.
God, we all lost it. It was great.
I want to see that 3-hour gag reel now. I think there's going to be a lot of people out there who would genuinely want to watch that.
There's a really funny one that is still in the gag reel. So when the stuff comes out, you guys will get to see it, but they're in the shed with the tanning bed, and it was really hot out, and they're trying to stay awake because it was late at night, and they're just bouncing up and down going, sex, 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 sex. It's the weirdest.
Do weird things at 2 a.m, you know?
Oh, makes all the sense in the world. All sense in the world. All right, Cole, let's talk about finding the creature now, because I am fascinated by
Tell us about your craft.
Tell us about the mime.
practical effects, all the special effects, makeup, that good
We're
stuff.
on the last day of our press tour. We've lost it.
Okay. You have all been crushing it, back and forth and back and forth, giving this movie the support that it deserves. All right, prosthetics first. What is a part of that makeup process that surprised you in terms of what it takes to put it on and also what it takes to act in it?
It's airtight, so all the sweat just stores in like a frog-like pouch right here. I'd say, so I'm a huge practical effects fanatic, and I was really excited for this part because I was excited to sit and go through the makeup routine. What they don't tell you is that when you get cast, when they do the cast for the practical effects, they entomb you in a block of silicone for 45 minutes, which is complete sensory deprivation with only one nostril to breathe out of, which is truly like you really have to pull out all the you know, sometimes the meditation, you hear Jim Carrey talked about the Grinch process sometimes, and he was like, I had an FBI coach, like, take me through all that stuff. I understood it there, but that was surprising. Sorry, that was long-winded. Like a rambling.
They're just really happy to hear about it.
I'm just happy to speak.
Here's another part of that process for you, and I'm also a big believer we need to shout out the unsung heroes in this industry as much as possible, and this individual, Lauren Eriksson, is an absolute movement magician on so many projects. Can you tell us what he does, and also maybe some specific things he taught you that we can now see in your finished performance?
He is a mime. I worked with a mime.
That's so cool. Tell us about it.
Kathryn has heard this mime thing about 1 billion times.
It's pretty cool.
Did you know I worked with a mime?
What? No way.
So Zelda apparently knows mimes. And I said, hey, that must be really boring at parties. And I was like, Zelda, I'd love to work with a
I
mime.
have other friends, Cole.
Yeah,
I don't. Just them.
And so, you know, at first when you think of miming, you think of like the invisible box or the ropes, which unfortunately I didn't learn.
So you didn't really learn anything?
No, I didn't. But he did teach me something that was really fascinating. So he's a student, he's an incredible miming instructor in Los Angeles, and he's a student of Marcel Marceau. And Marcel had developed this practice called the attitudes, which was, Marcel was trying to get to a universal language on how we understand gestures. And the practice that we did almost daily was, if you were a statue of rage, what would that statue look like? Would you hold yourself outwards? Where would your arms be? What would your legs be positioned as? What would your facial expression look like? And we would compare the ones that we did next to the ones that Marceau had developed. And they're all surprisingly very similar. Our first instincts that we go to when we understand emotion. This is getting so long-winded. Anyhow, he taught me some real cool stuff. Miming is a deeply rich art form, and I'm so grateful to have worked with Lauren. Also, quick tidbit, he drives a car with a license plate that says speechless.
This is the only movie I've ever done where my male lead is in the makeup chair longer than me, so that was a win.
We'd have to follow up on something. Zelda, did you know Lauren before?
No.
Oh.
No, I used Google.
Cole made it sound like you guys go way back.
I mean, that's awesome. But no, I Googled.
Just an unspoken connection between them.
Funny enough, he ended up asking Cole, being like, how did your director find me, hear of me? And I was like, Yelp? But we're in Los Angeles. Of course there's going to be a
The
mime.
foremost movement coach is just online? Like,
Yes.
That's cool.
The more you know, guys. You can find anything. Well, not on Google anymore. It's not really useful now, but you could.
I've been hearing his name a lot lately because he also did Sasquatch Sunset, which is like a fascinating movement exercise. And then I looked up information about this film and he worked on this as well. I'm like, that's a name everybody should know more of.
They called him after they saw this.
Hey, great one. That one really hit.
Thank you guys so much.
Oh, did we get cut off? I thought that was like literally our cutoff. I think they shut my mic off. Question for all of you. I love hearing about how things can evolve on set and you can find some unexpected magic. Can you give me an example of a time on set when things maybe weren't going to plan? You had to, pivot, find a creative solution, and something in the movie wound up being better off for it.
You mean every day? No.
I mean, though, actually, that kind of does describe the reality of filmmaking, right? Like every day you're finding things that, although they're not always better than you hoped. In this movie, I think they were.
Yeah, we looked out. Not really. The only thing that kind of went wrong, which you can't control, is New Orleans has lightning storms every day. Some of them, when you're seeing them in the distance, it looks like the day after tomorrow, and you're like, that's terrifying. So that's the only thing that I think ever. I mean, we didn't have to pivot though. We lucked out. I don't know. Next question. I feel like we managed to do. We were like, yeah,
I mean,
we did it.
that's a good thing. That's what
Yeah, we
happens
did,
when you
you know.
fill a set with good people and good vibes, and you have a great script to work with too. Diablo, I have a question about something you've brought up recently, because you have said that this movie exists in the same world as Jennifer's Body.
What does that mean?
My dad also asked me what that means. He came over yesterday and he said, why do you keep saying this movie takes place in the same universe as Jennifer's Body? What does that mean? And then I realized it's actually kind of hard to describe what that means, but you know what that means, right? Like it's the same the same dimension, like it's the same, and by the way, like that was not intentional, but somebody asked me that and I decided that it does.
Okay. No, I like that decision.
So, like, I have now decided.
So I'm gonna build on this idea.
Yes.
I want like a full universe of her monsters, just FYI.
Read my mind.
Like I want like a
I
werewolf
want to
movie.
fight
She's
Jennifer.
So you know, I would love that.
She's
Like
done a
Abbott
demon.
Costello, like type, like fight, yes,
Yeah.
Jennifer.
So let's make this happen. You have a succubus, you have a zombie, a reanimated corpse. What is the next monster you're going to add to the diablocody monster cinematic universe?
A reality show producer. That's what I'm actually writing more movie about right now.
Okay. I'll literally take anything you write. Just keep bringing us more of these. I have to wrap with you all soon. I love ending on this question. I will warn you, nobody likes this question. And I always say, I do not care because I think it's an important thing to think about. It's award season. People give each other awards in Hollywood, and that is lovely. No one says good job to themselves nearly enough. Can you each tell me something you accomplished on Lisa Frankenstein that you'll be able to look back on and say, damn, I am proud of what I did there?
I am so proud of the friends I made on this movie. Last night, Zelda and Cole gave me a birthday. Cole sang happy birthday way too loud, but it was the best. And Liza was there too. Henry's also our bestie, and we didn't have a single problem on set. Like Cole and I never got in a fight. He just took my snacks a lot, but I was cool with it. I let it roll. That's the biggest accomplishment, is that I think I actually made some really cool friends.
A little bit of a cop-out. You should pat yourself on the back for acting more often, but I will take it because you have lovely people surrounding you on the set.
Really nice, yeah. Anybody else?
Represent.
Anything
I mean, for me, it's the existence of the movie because right now it kind of requires a Herculean effort to get any kind of original story made that is not based on the existing idea. It's just, there was a lot of actual like work just to get here tonight. So like, I'm just proud of all the tenacity that was involved, I guess.
I'll do a mini cop-out because it wasn't me who told me this, but it made me really proud. Multiple people on the set said it was also the safest set they ever worked on, and as a director, that means a lot.
Can I add something to yours because I wrote it down. You have so they give us press notes to prep for interviews, and you have one of the best director statements I've ever read. And at one point you said, this movie isn't a groundbreaking spiritual journey that will change your world perceptions, but it is a ride. But then you went on to note that someone responded to the movie, like when they do test screenings, they were asked, what do you think the meaning of the movie is? And one person said that you can be a completely unhinged weirdo and still deserve to be loved. It's like seriously one of the most important messages to send out through a movie, and I feel like you have accomplished that with this film, so thank you for that. All right, Cole, pressure's on. You gonna take us home with this one?
Okay, take us home. I'm really proud we got this done. I mean, I know it's simple, but I'm, like Diablo was mentioning, getting these things greenlit, getting these things cast, building these things. I mean, it starts as an idea on paper, and then it takes 200 people to bring it to life, and that's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and honestly, it's a miracle anything gets done. And Zelda and I have talked about working together for years, and now we're sitting here on the opening night. And I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of all of us. And
Stop making me cry.
Stop crying, dude, stop.
You should be proud. Before this gets drowned out by applause, I'm gonna tell everyone sitting in this theater, if you love Lisa Frankenstein, and I know you did, spread the word. Tell everybody to see it in theaters on the big screen, because we really need more original stories like this and to support voices like this. So get that done, and I'm gonna say
Thanks for being here.
congratulations on the movie. Thank you.